Right. Hello, everyone. So this is the operator hour for OpenStack Manila. We have a couple of topics here and a couple of questions being asked and a couple of things we'd like to discuss. There is something that's not on this agenda, and if you don't mind, I would like to take like 5-ish minutes to run through that, which is I think yesterday, the foundation, like yesterday at night, the foundation sent like in the mailing list some numbers or some responses from the uh, user survey. And I mean, it was a bit tricky to compile all the data in just a couple of hours and not be able to reflect on them a lot. But I did that, and I would like to share some of this with you. So if you don't mind, I would like to share this for like 5 minutes, and we can go over some numbers and other things that we are working on, and things that we would likely need to work on for the future. So yeah, the user survey. If you are an operator, or if you have a deployment, or if you are planning to deploy, it's an important thing to do, like to answer to the survey, because it's really nice to get all of the feedback, and that's one way for you to ask us things and to tell us what are you doing, what are the things you are using in your deployment. So yeah, if there's a link at the end of the slides, and I'll link it to the operator hour as well. But the user survey for the next year should be something already available. So if you have the time, please take a look at that. It's always important to collect the feedback and also to discuss it as a group. So questions asked, mostly things related to your deployment, and we can use the data to pretty much figure out what we will be doing and what are the things that are most important for some people right now. So yeah, on Manila deployments, like we got about 107 answers or something like that, that said they would either be interested or testing or have Manila in production. So for production, we had 41% of those answers. And yeah, there are some that actually did say they use like for testing, and they, there's some sort of survey fatigue, that the data sometimes can be a bit tricky to interpret, and because some people don't answer some of the questions, but there are some answers that people provided feedback on what features they would like to implement, and what features, but they didn't like say if they are testing or interested, or they have a production environment of running Manila. So it's kind of tricky to interpret that sometimes. But for this chart here, the thing is, for all the people that responded, if they have Manila in production, if they are interested, or if they are testing, 41% or almost 42% answer that they have Manila in production. 23 said they are testing, and 34.9 say they are interested in using OpenStack Manila. So drivers used in production as well. Like, so I got the list of people that are using Manila in production, and got also the list of the drivers that they say they are using. So for that, ServerFS was the most commonly used driver from people that answered. We know that, I mean, some other people might be deploying, but they could have not answered to this. But here is basically the data for people that say that they are using for production. So that's why I basically am singling out here. But I mean, usage of Windows SMB, generic or LVM, also, like, it's I mean, for generic or LVM, generic, at least we don't expect a lot of people to be using in production, but I mean, it's sometimes people use, and they seem to work well with it. And there was also like feature requests. So for everyone that provided feature requests, like we had a bunch of requests for active high availability. So this was like the thing that people mostly mentioned in their answers. And second one was better integration with OpenStack compute service Nova, which is something we will discuss right after this. So that's something we have been working on as well. The third one would be generic share server solution for all backends with fault tolerance and scalability. And then unified limits are for quota control, OpenStack SDK and OpenStack CLI, and using prefs instead of root rep, and other that, I mean, the other I didn't get like the actual answers for that. So, and for protocols, this is also a bit tricky too. Like, not everyone that said they have in production answered that what are the protocol they are using. But for those that answered, I tried to collect this data, and there are various answers that say that they are using more than one protocol. So there are a lot of people using CFFS plus NFS, or CFFS plus NFS plus CIFS. So people are mostly combining the protocols they're using. And one takeaway is there is a tendency of people using CFFS also to use NFS sometimes. I can share the raw data with you that I tried to treat a bit more. I can link that in the operator as well. So yeah, that's one. This is a question we added for this year survey. Last year we didn't have this. So yeah. And for the feature requests, where we are with them? Well, active, we've been discussing it for a while. We've seen some people saying that they are actually using it, but there are still some bits that we all like progressively keep discussing and seeing if there's something else we should do. But yeah, that's a topic that was never out of our radar, and we are always trying to discuss it. So hopefully we can get some time later in the future and try to discuss this. What are the missing pieces? I know Gotham was pursuing this more actively for a couple of cycles, and then we had also some other requests, other people interested on this, for example, the NetApp folks. So yeah, that's something we can continue discussing. Better integration with Nova. We believe this will be done or completely done by this cycle, by Caracal. Generic solution for shared servers. Well, that's a bit tricky, but that's something we can discuss in the future as well. Unified limits, that's part of our tech debt that we have been keeping on the to-do list for some time, and we at some point I would like to work on it. So that's one of the things we can discuss also over the course of this week. Root rep, or it's the contrary, sorry, little mistake in the slide. So I should say, I was just search of brief step instead of root rep. Yeah, sorry, I didn't have a lot of time to do the slides and everything. So try to focus on the data for it. OpenStack CLI and OpenStack SDK. OpenStack CLI is one of the things that we can tick off our list, because what the next thing we should do now is only deprecate the Manila client, because OpenStack CLI is 100% done. And OpenStack SDK, we have been working on it for a couple of cycles now with interns. So there's a good progress there, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a matter of time, just as it was with the OpenStack CLI, to get all of the features covered, and then we can continue making the effort to keep adding all of the features we are implementing to Manila to OpenStack SDK as well. So there is already a link that redirects to the 2024 user survey. So if you have a deployment and you'd like to make your deployment count to this survey and provide feedback, so please let us know. By responding to the user survey, we might do some modifications to the next year survey, but yeah. So sorry, took a bit more than 5 minutes, I think, but that's all I had for this. And that's all I wanted to share. Some numbers, it's nice to see like what people are using and what are the protocols most used, like drivers, where we should work on, and what are people expecting that we should be working on for the next couple of cycles. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions?
No, but thank you for putting that data together. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Of
thanks.
course, I think we need to adjust the questions. And we couldn't do that somehow before this survey started, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
perhaps
it's
we
pretty cool.
can, yeah, perhaps we can discuss that with the foundation earlier and try to get some, try to get uh, some feedback, or, oh, should we propose the questions before? Because they kind of asked us to submit the questions, but yeah, it was, the survey had kind of started already. So it
Right.
would be nice if we could do that before, so we can already have the new questions in place when the survey starts, and then we can get some more specific feedback on what we want.
Yep.
I feel bad for not taking that survey.
You okay?
I missed
So
it.
that no wonder we didn't see the NetApp number rise. No, I don't believe. I mean, for one, I mean, to be brutally honest, I really don't believe the numbers from the backend usage data, because we actually I mean, I'm privileged to some information on the Red Hat side, and I know how folks are using it, at least as far as the Red Hat distributions are concerned. And then looking at the mailing list questions and things like that, we get a flavor of what kind of backends folks are ending up using in their things and stuff. So those numbers, take them with a bit of salt, because as Carlos said, I feel like survey fatigue sets in around the time when, somewhere in like the 10th page is hidden a bunch of questions on Manila, and you could be just clicking through things at that point. So but definitely the feedback, what's taken on some of the features, because I did see the survey results also had folks that had typed in comments. And I suppose Carlos tried to add a question for a free form feedback that didn't get added in this survey. But the next time we're going to have a free form feedback question, and we'll actually probably clean up the survey questions to not ask these many questions. Uh, Hopefully, we'll get better answers that way.
Yes. So yeah.
Thank you, Carlos. Yeah, Carlos, one question. Yeah, thank you, Carlos, for sharing this the data and statistics, right? And the questions, the usage. So, do we have anything like a kind of auto support? Right? And type used to have auto support, like where we get data from customers automatically, and that's how we look at the usage, right? Maybe I'm not sure about that. I just wanted to know that. Do we have anything like that in OpenStack so that we can track Manila customers, like who are all using?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have OpenStack itself. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't have like a tracker for that. For example, that in our case, like they would need to have a tracker to look at like how the Manila deployments are done and which backends which backend drivers they're configuring. So we would rely a lot more on the operators that are deploying that to actually tell us what they are using.
Yeah, no call home in the code.
No call home.
But
Okay.
yeah, but as far as auto support itself goes, I think the NetApp driver begins with sending a call home message to the auto support thing, which if auto support is enabled on that ONTAP cluster, I think you'll get that information at NetApp, which is something I think both in the Cinder and Manila drivers they have. And as far as rumblings go, I think we're planning on supporting something like that in Ceph as well. And as you can tell, this is definitely more useful for commercial vendors, of which IBM is one right now, and they would be interested in knowing how Ceph is being used and to what scale and stuff like that, so they can better improve their support and things. Pretty much like the question you're asking, Sarwan.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you, Carlos.
Okay, so yeah, that's I think we can wrap the user survey part and get back to like the operator hour stuff. Thanks for the feedback, and yeah, I mean, as Gautam said, like getting back to the only for one more minute, getting back to the survey again. The numbers of the drivers, we get a sense like we see that a lot more people are using the NetApp than what they are reporting. We see a lot of other people using Dell, and this is not being reported. So it's the numbers on the drivers. Yes, we need to take a look at them like carefully, because it means people that responded the survey, not actually everyone that's doing that, because we don't have that stuff like collecting the deployments data. But I think the biggest takeaway here, as Gautam said, is the feedback on the features and what we are using, what we should be enhancing for the future. So that's pretty much like very important feedback for us, so that we can ensure we are heading to the right direction. Because I mean, as I was reading through the list, we can see like, oh, for at least half of the list, we already have at least half of the work done. So, and that's a good thing for us to understand that we are in the right path, and we are working on the features that matter for operators and people that are actually deploying a cloud. So yeah, I'll shut up now and I'll let the operator hour topics continue. So first thing we had here is an update for the VirtualFS attachment. So Gautam.
I do see other topics, Carlos. I was wondering, is it a good thing to start with VirtualFS if folks here interested in knowing what's going on, or should we just you can read through this as well and ask questions and move on to the other ones. So let's base it off of on what folks want to discuss. So let me rephrase that. Are folks interested in the VirtualFS feature right now to talk about it?
I'm in favor of moving it to the end, and I would drop.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So there's a bunch of stuff on the VirtualFS thing. So please feel free to read through, and if you add questions, I'll be able to answer that. So we can move to the next topic that Maurice has here. Maurice, do you want to introduce it?
Yes. I was waiting for others to maybe yeah, their thoughts on the good.io. Yeah. The question came up. We want to start using this service disablement to do some backend maintenance. So whenever we do a NetApp on-top upgrade, we want to disable Manila because share creations could be disrupted, and we don't want to have them disrupted. We have enough backends that we can survive that. And I was just interested if there are others that were thinking of using service disablement or already using it. And also thinking about the downsides that this is having. So with disabling the service, we are only disabling some calls to the backend and not everything. Like new requests would not reach that backend, but things like force extend or things like creating a share from a snapshot would still reach the backend.
Right. Yes. That's a fair point. So I don't know the answer to the first one, which is how folks are using it right now. But I can talk through the next one. This was always a missing piece in the whole service enable disable logic, that we had no way, that we've not implemented a way that the service really does a graceful shutdown of sorts, right? Like technically, what you want is stop doing everything that you're doing gracefully, and don't do anything until the another API call comes in or somebody restarts the service itself, with some other mechanism. Um, so that's a fair question, and I think we were just chatting about it, Francisco and I, on because we have a similar use case for when deploying services with as containers on top of Kubernetes. We had the same kind of thing where we would like for the service to scale up and scale down as operators are changing their manifests and stuff, um, and that scale down to occur in a graceful manner. For instance, that would be one use case for us to disable the service that way. We wouldn't be using the service disable API, but we can, in one sense. But um, it's more or less a thing of we want everything on that service to wrap up fine. We don't want to like crash that service at that point, because we are probably taking it down for maintenance like you are. Um, that's the idea too.
Yeah, the question would be what is the difference to stopping it? Yeah, disabled.
There, yeah, yeah. But right now, I think service disable just means don't provision anything more.
Yeah.
Uh, in the Manila context.
Maybe another use case that is on my list to make use of is when adding new backends. We would like to start the service disabled and then make some validations, like to have some method to, as a cloud administrator, to force scheduling on that disabled backend and to see if everything's working, and only if that is the case, then enable it. We're already doing that for Nova when we add new hosts, and I would really like to have the same in Manila. But it's currently not possible.
And how would that feature work with Nova at the moment?
In Nova, you can schedule with the scheduler hints. I think you can schedule to a disabled host.
Oh, I
I
see.
don't know if it's upstream possible or if it's also a patch of ours that we only have downstream. But yeah.
I'm just trying to jot down what I think you're thinking of.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's good. Yeah. Also, we have this force actions on a disabled service would also be good in the maintenance use case, so not only when adding it as a new backend.
Yeah, you would disable it, but you can do some things to like debug and triage and troubleshoot things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This
Francesco, you had
from
sorry.
just be me interested in what this is doing to kind of a feature request. Didn't expect that to go that way.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I did not expect that my question about the service disablement would go to be the way that it's
A
implemented.
feature request. No, yeah, I guess I'm just trying to tie down two thoughts. I mean, one from a deployer's perspective, right? Like, I mean, Francesco is here, and we were discussing this for a different perspective, saying, we're changing the way we're doing deployment. So can we make this easier for operators that are using this deployment tool? And we had this question around, how do we wrap up services that we don't no longer need, or we wanted services in maintenance states and stuff. So I'm trying to tie that with your use cases as well, and try to see if we can evolve a pattern and design the feature.
Hey Gautam, actually, thanks for bringing it up because we were discussing it from a deployer perspective because we can have multiple Manila shares and we have the ability to not just stop them, to just delete them without without having Manila aware about this deletion. So it's driven by the deployer. So we risk to have leftovers from a database perspective or things like that, and we need to handle this use case. On the other front, we should define what does mean shutdown instead of disabling, because we have that gracefully shut down or gracefully restart topic, which is important because you can, if you are running Manila share, it's Kubernetes, but it could be anywhere. If you kill Manila share and you have pending for operations, you need to make sure that you're not just killing the Manila share without, like kill -9, kill the process and live happy with it. We need to make sure that the software in general is aware about what's going on. And if you provide a way to shut down gracefully Manila share, you can basically think about what you have in your queue, your processing queue, and then defer the shutdown in time and not let the deployer or anything that is orchestrating basically Manila to decide when it's the best time to kill it or shut it down. Um, Disable is like something interesting here because disabling means, okay, I'm have that period of time where I'm not processing any new requests, but I'm still there. I'm still processing the remaining things that are in my queue, and then I can stop myself if I have that kind of directive from an higher level, from the high level, basically, rule. So that are my thoughts around this topic, and I think that having this disable vs shutdown definition is very important from an operator perspective.
Agreed. I actually have not used the graceful stop mechanism in Oslo service, right? Like what you're referring to is, let's say, if you have the service running as pods, and let's say Kubernetes wanted to train any node, worker node, try to move the pod away to a different place. It would first have to do a stop and then and start it elsewhere.
I think so, or at least check if we have pending operations. Because if we are talking about the Kubernetes words, you have a way to decide whether you can pick that pod and schedule elsewhere or just terminate that pod. When you schedule it elsewhere or just terminate the pod, you have a termination period that is configurable at the orchestrator level. Now, the orchestrator is Kubernetes, but can be anything else, right? So this kind of feature, basically making aware the Manila share that I'm going to stop because someone tell me that I have to stop, is a good practice so that we cannot just let the orchestrator define termination periods, but we can basically push this termination period up to the layer where that is telling me as Manila share to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And today we're not really handling much in that logic, from what I can tell. Um, we could be doing stuff here. In case there is some stuff to be cleaned up. So the answer then to uh, the disable part would be we have to have a way to disable the service entirely without having without allowing user actions on um, uh, ever reaching that service, right? Is that the question, Maurice? Then, like, if we have a solution to stop, which is this stuff, and you know, kill -9 that particular process, and you're going to get some version of stop that we can go ahead and improve if we're not considering any long running operations and things like that. But if we are designing for a disable service thing, we have a halfway solution there where we're just turning off provisioning. You're looking for it to extend that to everything that the user can do, right?
Yes. And at the same time, still allow an admin to do it on demand. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that seems a little straightforward. You know, we do have preconditions in the APIs. This looks like yet another precondition that we can throw into all of our APIs that are not going to go through the scheduler, because the scheduler already gives us the others. And if you need the scheduler at that point, you really don't know where you are, um, or you would like to move from where you are. So that's why you're going to go through the scheduler. Or actually, in case of extend, we do some checks with the scheduler. Okay, so I take that back. Generically, we kind of have a way at least to check ourselves whether the service is disabled before we do an action, or before we even send an RPC message. And we would just send an error back to the end user saying, this action cannot be performed at this time. You can retry later. Is that what you're picturing, or
Yeah, it will be
okay? And then of course you can force
whatever.
that action on a disabled service if you're an
Yeah.
administrator. I think there is no contentions for that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the obvious thing to do that we're not doing today. And the last comment is going to be perpetual on most of my things over here. This needs a doc because we've not written one so far on how this is expected to work. Just like Francesco was saying, I mean, you were going to use stop and disable in different places, and you need to know what the service will do without having to read the code.
No, we just thought about Manila share. Does this also make sense for the scheduler and for the API?
So we don't really have a service representation for the API. It's just the scheduler. In the API, yeah, technically, we're up to the. I mean, if the WSGI process is killed, it's just it. We don't really have a way for you to disable a running API service. Besides that, is there any need for one? Like, I mean, so far we have not pictured it.
Yeah, that would mean like pausing for some administrative actions, like any Manila manage command, maybe.
You mean take down the API service?
Yeah.
Well, one way would be to, I mean, we expect for somebody to interact with the API via Keystone, right? Technically, go gather a token, find the service, find the endpoint, talk to the service via Keystone. So if temporarily something has to be taken down that way, that is one option. If you make the endpoint go away on Keystone or disable, I don't know if there's a way to disable an endpoint in Keystone. It would achieve that action, which is keep the APIs running, but it's not reachable by your end users. But that again is an expectation from the clients and then the tooling that we've written. If you know where the API is running, you can reach it and still talk to it. And another dumb solution would be just add a rate limit on the Manila and this thing and turn off everybody. Not a dumb solution really. So technically just rate limit them to 0 and the API would still run. It will process that request, but it will turn it down saying you can't use that and retry after whatever you want to specify.
Be really clever.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like the API is such a lightweight REST service that it doesn't encode a lot of that logic, or it doesn't need us to implement something like the way we've done it for scheduler and the share service. But speaking of the scheduler, it would have the same actions with respect to stop. Today, that's what we're doing, so-called graceful shutdown. That's what we're executing, but I don't know whether that's actually working, right? Probably there's some, I mean, if we surface bugs, that would be pertinent. I mean, because we expect something to happen, but maybe we're not, because we're not testing something like this when an operation is ongoing. But a disabled scheduler would mean all schedulers are disabled, because in this case of a scheduler, we really don't have a way to, not really. Yeah, pretty much. Like if you disable the scheduler, that's in your deployment, you're not gonna be able to reach it. Uh, right? I haven't actually thought about that.
Yep.
Because I know the provisioning thing depends on our code inside the scheduler that checks for a service being up. But we don't do any such checks on the API when we're talking to the scheduler, so I don't know how that's supposed to work. But it can be an easy test. But what was the use case, Maurice? Disabling scheduler?
I don't have any. I was just thinking. What
To
would be-
generalize the problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, some questions to be answered there. But we have some AIs right now, which is, I think, this here, which is making sure that all the APIs will need to make sure that we can we have an RFE for that. We need a doc for the existing stuff because I don't think we've ever written it down, and people are just discovering it based on how it works with other OpenStack services or just reading the code at this point. And if Francesco, were you planning on implementing support for the backend teardown? And if yes, maybe that gives us a good place to test if we're gracefully shutting down any
Yeah.
running operations.
Yeah, definitely something that we can do, not sure this cycle, but between this and next cycle.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that will give us a clear idea of which kind of bugs we can hit and which kind of fix we need.
Yeah,
Thanks.
makes sense. Thank you. All right. Anything else on these things? I mean, so far that's a couple of action items that we can go act on right now, but and another that we know can come. Any other thoughts?
Thanks for your input.
Perfect. Thanks for bringing the concern here and for sharing your thoughts. Perfect. Carlos, do you want to pick up the next topic? Sure.
Yeah, sure. So in my Audible, like there's the neighbor is using like a drill here, and yeah, I don't know if you can hear that. I'm sorry if you. Okay.
Nope,
So
can't hear. You could.
okay, thanks. Yeah, so there's another thing here, more like a question and experiences on continuous profiling in production. For example, what tools to use, advantages and disadvantages. Maurice, was it you writing this question too, or I'm not sure if it was someone else?
It's me. Hi, it's Fun here. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. Um, it's a rather general question. I'm not sure. It does not apply to Manila only, but I hope this fits to the operator hour. The reason is that I'm interested in this is that from time to time we have this question from different angles coming in and asking why the service, this kind of process is slow for this kind of a this kind of operations, and it's just very difficult to find out because for one, it usually happens in the production, and then also it only happens when in different scenarios, right? It's not just, for example, create a share usually doesn't create issue, but creating several shares, like 10 shares in the same time, or some more complicated process happening at the same time simultaneously, the performance could be dropped or bad. So it's quite challenging to find it out. And I know there is this OS profiler that is available. It's built into Manila and OpenStack other services. This is not very helpful because to use that tool, you have to or trigger it manually. So it's also, because of that, it's also quite difficult to reproduce it. So recently, with this eBPF technology, and we have heard a lot of stories about that, especially the profiler built on this technology is quite helpful, is quite good in the sense that it has very small footprint in the systems in terms of CPU usage and memory usage. Therefore, you can enable it in production for always enable. I'm not sure how it works, but looks like it does continuous profiling so that you can catch problems, potential problems in your system. Wow, it's a purely question whether anyone has experience in it, because if I look at the tutorials, it's usually showing examples about a web server and some API responses, which, yeah, I don't know whether it's helpful for Manila, for such kind of system that you have several services, dependencies, and you also have RPC calls in between. Would that also be helpful in these scenarios? I'm not sure. So it's purely, it's really a question. And also, what type of tools is recommended? I don't know. I mean, apparently there are many different tools using this same technology, but is there any recommendations, or the upstream have any plans that we can unify that a little bit? And also, from what I understand, is that the code also need to be modified, instrumented. So maybe it should not be very difficult to do that, but apparently there are some code changes. Would it be interesting to merge that part also to upstream? I don't know. It's a pure question. I hope that's clear, presented.
I hear the question, but I don't know the answer. That's for
Okay.
sure. And I was just Googling stuff myself. There are folks that have actually spoken about this at previous OpenStack summits on how they were doing it in their deployments. But I suppose they're using whatever's existing in the. I mean, if there was any code instrumentation, maybe there was a way to tie into that because I don't suppose there are any patches in OpenStack itself specific to this. If you're aware, please feel free to drop them so we can investigate as well alongside you.
Yeah. I also understand that it's rather general, so it's not specific to Manila. So
Right.
Okay.
I, for one, am interested in this in terms of how this works and things, because I do see the use cases, at least in the Kubernetes space, when you're running applications and having and wanting to see what the the footprints are and stuff.
Yeah.
But I suppose you were involved with the initial integration of OS Profiler with Manila, or at least I recall something with that. Have you used that OS Profiler itself, and do you find that useful?
Yeah, we tried it out. Yes. I don't remember the tools we used to gather the statistics. But the problem there is that it's not very flexible. So it's good for debugging. So if you have the, you know where the problem is, and you want to find out the sub processes or the sub call, you want to find out how the call stacks looks like, then it's helpful. Yeah. But if you want to reproduce some situations that only happen in production, then you have to first create it. So that's
Right.
that's a dilemma.
And the aspect of having something that's running continuously, because I think the part with the profiler will require you to actually instrument it from the CLI.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's why, yeah. Hopefully this continuous profiling can help.
Yeah. Certainly interested if you're going down this path and trying to learn this. If you'd like to share stuff and
Okay.
catch us up as well.
Yeah. I see. Yeah. Okay, that's just what I want to share. That's yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, it's kind of a nice thing too. Like I also don't have the answer for this, but it's something interesting to take a look at. So yeah. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to discuss for this operator hour? I think we are 7 minutes over the time, but yeah, it's carrying over from the previous sessions where we spent some more time than we actually expected. So would you guys like to discuss something else? Okay, taking silence as now. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. This was a very productive session. So yeah, it's really great to get the feedback and also to discuss some of these things with you. If you have any other feedback, please direct them to us. You can add topics to the OpenStack Manila meeting, the weekly meeting that runs on Thursdays, 15 UTC, or you could direct the questions to the OpenStack Manila channel on IRC, but also the OpenStack Discuss mailing list with using the Manila tag. We'll be glad to take questions or address anything that you have, like for suggestions or enhancements or anything you would like some feedback on. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining. This wraps up our first PTG day, and I'll see you all tomorrow at at Thursday, 14 UTC. Tomorrow we don't have any sessions in the Manila room, but please watch out for any other sessions you would like to join. PTG is happening for most of the OpenStack projects. So thank you all. Have a good day, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.